Without further ado, we have Joseph Blakely.
That's fine. All right, hi everybody. I'm Joseph Blakely. I'm the compliance coordinator for human resources. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about background checks. Hopefully you all know that we do background checks. If you don't, now you do. We screen people for their criminal history as well as their automotive history. And we have a matrix that we use to evaluate people's history so that we treat everyone impartially and sort of have a process for anything that might come up. We just started our new process. We've merged with Virtus, who is our safe environment provider. We're now doing our background checks through them using our same background vendor, Spies, who is located in San Antonio. Everything now should be going through the website except for credit checks. So the DMV is now built in. So that's something that I don't know if any of you handle your budgets, but the cost is going to increase for every screening that you're going to run. The DMV is $15 and the criminal is $3 for the national sex offender check and $3 for the state criminal check. So $21 a piece for each background check. $15 for the DMV and $3 for the national sex offender and $3 for the state criminal. So $21 a piece for every background check. Parishes are free to absorb that cost if they want. Some of them do that. Some of them pass it along to their volunteers. It really depends on how your pastor wants to handle it. So one thing that hasn't changed is our 10 business day turnaround time. We still ask that even though everything is electronic now, there's actual real people on the other side still running your background checks. So we do ask that we have a 10 business day turnaround time for anything that goes through Virtus, and anyone who has criminal history or any other history that we need to review is going to take additional time.
So it's not AI doing it.
It's not yet. Maybe soon. I know that convention is coming up, so that's something that a lot of you may have concerns about. That's June 5th, I think. Is that the right date? Okay, so
The next week, actually.
It's the 7 to 10.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay, so
Yeah, that's right.
all right, let me check my calendar here. So June 7th is the first day, Helen? Okay.
Yes.
It's a Wednesday. Yeah.
So then I would say that anyone that you want to be sure can attend that needs to be screened by the 24th of this month. So I need to get on Virtus. I don't know if you want me to walk them through this, Brian, or not. I could show them how
That's
to do it.
Wednesday, by the way.
Right.
Wednesday.
That's next Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
if you want, I can.
Yeah, because I've actually had people ask me like what the process
okay,
was.
yeah.
I mean, for all of us, we've already been on it, we've already done the old
Okay, I
way.
can't
Right.
minimize
So
Zoom.
we've got new
Okay.
people that are asking and we're like, just follow the directions, we really don't know. the
You can just
process.
open, is that, what is that, Edge?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you all how it looks to go through as a first-time registrant. Just go to virtus.org, please. Okay, so on the left side, you'll see first-time registrant. Under the login box. Yep. Click that. You'll click begin the registration process. You'll choose Beaumont from that list.
Joseph, can you go just like a tad bit slower?
Okay, sure.
Like 3 seconds slower.
Sure.
Here's Beaumont.
Okay, so to recap, virtus.org, first time registrant, choose Beaumont from the list, hit select. Have you previously registered with Virtus online? Choose no. This is where it's going to ask you to create your user ID and password. We don't have to go any further past this. Once you get to this screen, all you need to do is follow the prompts. So just create your login and then hit continue, and then the screen will prompt you to do everything else. Now, having said that, this process, that's all you need to do.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Having said that, the process is still fairly new to us. We just went live with this in March, and we are aware that there are some kinks in the system. One of them is that people from approximately 2021 to 2023 are not currently included in this data. That's because Virtues has to import them. There's a list of about 1,500 people from that time period, and we've given that to them and they're working on it. So if you know someone got screened in last year and you look up their name, you don't see them, that's why. So if you have a question about any people who've been screened recently, you can always contact me. I'll give you my email address if you want to write it down.
I have one question, Mr.
Mhm.
Council. I noticed, we submit some, backgrounds last year and I didn't see on Virtus. Do I need to ask they submit the background or no, it wait, or what's
Yes.
your best?
So if you submitted some last year and you received an email from me with the results, that's still valid. All of those results are valid. So just because you don't see them in Virtues right now, doesn't mean that, so please do not ask those people to go do it again, because that's going to result in you getting charged, and we don't want that. So if you are missing any results that you don't see in the system, just send me an email. I'll check our records, and if their screenings are valid, I'll let you know.
So that instruction sheet that is available on the administrator tab is really helpful. Like it tells them exactly what to do. So if you
Yes.
just share that, and anytime somebody wants to be a volunteer, email them that PDF. They can actually even click the links. It's so easy.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Gary. Does everyone know who their local administrator is? That's a good question.
I was assuming everybody in here was the
Yeah,
administrator.
some may be.
Some of you may be.
Yeah. PCL.
Yes. So if you don't know who your local administrator is and you would like to know, just raise your hand. Okay, you're at St. Mary?
Well, whoever that administrator is, on their tab, there is a really handy little document. All they gotta do is email it to someone and it tells them exactly how to do it.
Well, according to this document, St. Mary doesn't have one. It says free to rest for the school,
Oh,
but
that's for the school.
it doesn't list one for the parish. So let me make a note of that. It might be you. Do you want to be?
Well, I did have it before. I mean, I don't mind, but it'll be up to Father.
Okay, yes, it will. I was just making a joke. So obviously, everything, all these sort of decisions have to go through your pastor and Dr. David, who is our chancellor.
Okay, do we have one?
Woodville?
Yes.
Wednesdays.
Okay, that sounds good to me. Can you check St. Pius?
Yes. St. Pius, Felicia Fonda.
And it's Christina knows that singing.
Karen voted for second, right?
Yes, Karen.
We don't get out.
Looks like there's two, On-Win and Doon-Win. That's all right? No. Okay. I'm sorry, what's your name? Okay, so you don't want to be the local administrator? Okay, so it really is up to your pastor and Dr. David, I guess. Maybe
Maybe they just appointed you.
it's entirely possible that they appointed you. I would ask the pastor. Okay. Anyone else?
And you're getting a new desk.
Okay.
I have a question.
They have a new pastor,
Starting in July, right? Yeah. So for now, we'll get there in July.
Three years ago, Virtuous was online, so has it changed since?
So what you're talking about is only the safe environment training.
Mhm.
What is new about this is that we've taken our background check process and merged it. So no longer should anyone be handing in any paper questionnaires unless that person needs a credit check, and then eventually we're gonna get rid of the paper.
But the
for that
driving
too.
portion, they still have to submit that,
They
right?
still have to submit their insurance. There's
Yeah.
no way for Virtuous to collect it, and they don't want to collect it. So we're gonna ask that the local administrator be the one, that's not changing. So they would still have to submit that to Karen for your case, and then Karen would pass it to me.
Okay, that's
What's gonna happen now is Karen is just gonna be the one to look at it and say that the training, I'm sorry, that the insurance is valid. So nothing is changing. She just needs to look at it and see that it's not expired.
So it's not centralized.
okay.
So she should still keep a copy of that. Whenever people, I don't know if you have any other paperwork, every parish probably handles that differently.
We just take the background, like we have it printed out, and then you fill out the background, the license, and the insurance, and we just give it to Karen. And from there, I guess she emails it to you.
That's right. So
Yeah.
for now, you don't need to have those people fill out that paper anymore.
Okay, so we just, and they don't need the driver's license portion anymore, I guess, if they're submitting that.
That's
on-
collected in Virtues. They do collect
So
the
the only
driver's
thing we
license.
need now is just the.
Their insurance,
Okay, all the
yes.
insurance, okay.
And that's only gonna be for people who are driving, so if
Right.
you don't want them to drive, they're still gonna be charged for it. As I said, we built that into the process, so you may as well collect it just in case you ever have an emergency where you need a driver.
Okay, so now we'll just go ahead and.
Might as well get it from everyone now, but
Okay.
that's not gonna preclude someone from service, whereas in the past it would have.
Right, okay.
It's up to you and up to the parish to know who's gonna drive and to be in compliance with the fact that their insurance is valid.
But to clarify, Joseph, where do we send the insurance
You don't.
copy?
You don't.
The insurance copy, they just,
You as a local administrator will receive it. You will see that it's not expired and then just put it in your files. Yeah, you don't have to keep it. You don't have to. I would personally, I would make a copy of it just because if the worst case scenario happens, someone gets in a wreck, you want to be able to prove that you're in compliance. If it were me, I would put a stamp, received, whatever the day is, and make sure that the day that you received it is before the date of expiration
right.
on the
Okay.
insurance.
It changes what you're supposed to do.
So you mentioned convention. Many of them have VBS as well. And so just be cognizant of your volunteers with that. Now, the background check is for anyone 18 years and older.
That's right. We also have, we've come across certain circumstances, especially with the youth department. Currently, we are not requiring anyone under 18 to be screened for background. We do have a training similar to PGC for adults. I think it's called Healthy Relationships for Teens, something like that. That's really more Dr. David's purview. I don't deal a whole lot with that, but I'm pretty sure that we're gonna ask teenagers, certainly for people like at summer camp, Eileen, your counselors, they'll need to go do that healthy relationship training.
Is that through Virtues?
It is through Virtues. They'll go online. They'll do the exact same process that we just walked through. The system will recognize that they're under 18 and it will treat them accordingly.
So, hold on, so like for us, we showed them in 10th grade, the Protecting God's Children videos, because I mean.
So
we have
it's
to.
not the protecting God's. See, the issue is that we use that phrase to kind of talk about a lot of different things
Yeah.
under safe environment. The videos that those kids are seeing are not actually protecting it. It shouldn't be, because that
Okay.
training is only for adults.
Okay,
So if you're talking about like, for Pete's sake, tell or tricky
Yeah,
people or
sorry,
those,
yes.
yeah, so those are correct and that hasn't changed.
but as long
Um,
as they've watched that in our 10th grade program, then
They're
fine.
fine, yeah,
Okay.
depending on, I mean, what, in terms of being in compliance with the reporting for Dr. David?
Yeah,
Yes, that's
okay.
fine. Personally,
Like, we
I would
have
recommend that.
volunteering, So like, for instance, my kids, they're involved with CYM and all that. In the diocese with Eileen, they watched it in 10th grade, so they would still be okay. Or do they need to go one there and still do it for the diocese part?
They would need, what we're talking about now is volunteers or people
Yeah.
who are working at the camp. So
Right.
what you're talking about is just the kids going through the
Well, because I
religious
mean, they
education, right?
volunteer through our program too, like they're aides to the teachers in our program.
Okay, so that would be a question to direct to Dr. David. I'm not sure exactly the age range of the healthy relationships training. It may just be for older 16, 17-year-old kids. I don't know exactly.
'Cause that's the
How
age
old
that
are
we
10th
allow them
graders?
to start
16,
helping.
right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
it may be that. I would direct that question to him.
I think an important distinction too is to realize that the ones that we do for the children for, in the catechesis is for them them to know how to be safe themselves, but the ones that we use for volunteers are for them to how to be safe with others, like how they handle, if they're helping with children, how to handle helping with children. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, I think that's a
There's
good point.
there's two different ways that you're training, and one is to be safe themselves. In their situations, they might find themselves in, and the other one for volunteers of children is for them to be safe with the children.
Yes. I would also recommend that if you all don't already have the videos from the Diocese of St. Cloud, please use those. The other ones are so old and kids just don't pay attention to that stuff anymore. So like the tricky people, but I'm sure you all know those are from like probably before most of us were born. So anyway, let's see what else we got on the list. So I already talked about there's still some kinks in the system. So if you have any sort of questions about any of your people, you're always free to contact me. If you want to write down my phone number, I'll give it to you. It's 409-924-4309. 409-924-4309. Also, my office phone is able to receive text messages, so if you want to text me, that's fine too. My email is jblakely, that's BLAKELEY @dioceseofbmt.org. The last thing that I'd probably want to mention, and then I'll open it up to any other questions, is that some of the people in the field have talked to us about communication issues with their local admin or anything like that. If you have a situation like that, you'll need to speak to your pastor or to Dr. David to sort of get that resolved. Really, these decisions are above the PCL level, so it's just kind of how your pastor wants to handle it and how Dr. David wants to handle it. Any other questions?
Somebody's coming to serve as parish just for one day, but it's the person who I need to contact to verify the background of Veritas. Require filing again.
Is this like a guest speaker?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But he's gonna be here for 4 times, but once a month,
Okay, where's the person coming
from San Joseph.
from? In Port Arthur?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so they're in our diocese and they should have already been screened. Okay,
Contact.
yeah, you can ask me. We have a lot of flexibility with the permissions that we can assign to the local administrators. Right now, we're just trying to get everyone really familiar and comfortable with the system before we enable a lot more permissions. Maybe we never will. It just kind of depends on how everyone is able to manage their workload and how comfortable everyone feels with doing these types of things. So in cases like those, you can just contact me and I'll transfer them over to you.
So once this is all like fully out there at Virtus, if someone is volunteering, now previously it was my understanding, if they're volunteering at separate entities within the diocese, the Virtus, of course, is good, but the background checks had to be done at each, like say, St. Anne's School versus St. Anne Parish. So now that it's all on Virtus, will that be?
Right, so basically, we didn't run the check again for a person going from one location to another. We just asked that you submit the questionnaire, which authorized us to release those results to that new location. Okay, so now it's all online. Anyone who's volunteered or rather been screened anywhere can go anywhere else in the screen will be valid. Now, having said that, it depends on that person's history. So let's say someone robbed a bank and the pastor at their first parish was like, well, this person is very repentant. I've known them forever. I'm comfortable with them volunteering. The pastor at the next parish may not be. So just because someone's been screened and active in one location doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be approved to volunteer or be active somewhere else. It's up to the discretion of the pastor.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Where does the pay come in? So that each time that someone in our parish uses Virtus to be volunteer as a volunteer, whatever. When does that pop up on the screen and somebody actually?
I'm not
Do
sure.
they get invoiced, like the church gets?
Yeah.
invoiced?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I'm like,
hasn't
well,
changed.
I'm wondering if the volunteers are gonna see that part, because I think. that
Will
would
they
be
see
kind of
their, will they
distasteful.
see how much their screening costs?
Yeah.
No.
It's
No.
just slightly distasteful.
Yeah, so
Okay,
again, it's gonna be up to the parish to decide whether or not to ask for reimbursement for those costs, but
okay.
it hasn't changed. Our vendor will bill the parish directly. Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. All right, y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.
So, just how this morning is going to map out, we're gonna have, Richard on pretty quick here. And then after he presents, then I will, have some things as well. Mary Kay Yet is gonna be talking about catechesis of the Good Shepherd. She's not here yet. She's coming a little bit late. And, I'm not sure where Gerard is, but he already paid for the lunch, so we're good there. But I know maybe some of you may have some questions about him. If he does not, if for some reason he couldn't make it, he can be contacted directly. So if you have any questions regarding Sadler, he'd be happy to answer your questions. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes.
And one little change, and I mentioned that on Monday, Bishop is going to have mass with us at noon. So if we can delay our lunch by half an hour, that'd be perfect. We're doing Jason's Deli. Normally we do Holy Family Retreat Center, but say a prayer for Deacon Steve and his dad. His dad fell. And so Deacon Steve had to really be with his dad at this point in time. He was across the state. And so he had to be up there. So Sister Teresa was very apologetic yesterday afternoon, saying he can't do the lunches. And I said, no apologies necessary. He has to be with his dad, right?
Yes.
And so, and Jason's deli came through just fine. So we're going to deliver. And so we'll enjoy Jason's Deli box lunches. So this guy, Richard Dreybeck, you can go ahead and get on. There he is. He and I have known each other since 2001, 2.
Yeah, I'd say that sounds right. I was thinking a little over 20 years, back to your days at Wheeling Charleston.
That's right, when I was in the Diocese of Wheeling Charleston. He's a good friend. Like I mentioned to Lori, whenever we go to national conferences, we're at a minor league baseball game, a major league baseball game on the free night. So we have a, so you saw the picture of him with the background of the stadium. What stadium was that?
That was actually taken at White Sox Stadium. So
Okay, in southern part of Chicago. So, but yeah, Richard has been with University of Dayton virtual learning community since its inception, really, right?
correct. Yes,
1998,
98, 99.
99. So he's been with them for a good long time. He's originally from Toledo, right?
Go Mud Hens.
Okay, very good. So that's the minor league team up in.
That's correct, the minor league team.
And
I was figuring there might be enough people in the audience who might remember Jamie Farr from MASH and the way that he was always talking about the Mud Hens in Toledo.
Yep. And I have a son and his family's up in Toledo too. So I know Toledo a little bit, been to the Toledo Zoo and to the museums and that type of thing. So it's a great city. But he lives now in Dayton and he works for the University of Dayton.
Also a great city.
Go ahead. Also a great city, you said?
Yes.
Yeah. So without further ado, I bring you Richard, and he's going to kind of lead us in a discussion. He'll present some things as well, but he'll lead a discussion. So he will be able to hear you as long as you, especially those in the back, if you use your diaphragm, he'll be able to hear you just fine. So,
I'm sure will work out quite well.
okay, very good.
So thank you very much, Brian. I will go ahead and open us with a prayer. I have a little book that I inherited from my brother a number of years ago. He passed during COVID. So prayers for his repose of his soul are appreciated. His name is Michael. And I found this little book of Catholic meditations next to his bed, and I've kept it with me ever since. And whenever I get the opportunity, I always pull a prayer from it. And the prayer for today, I think, is very apropos. So I'm going to go ahead and begin with a one verse reading from Ephesians, and then a reflection. So we shall begin our time in prayer as we begin all things in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. A reading from the letter to the Ephesians. Do the will of God from your heart, giving your service with good will as to the Lord rather than to human beings. A reflection. Those who serve human beings alone make human beings the judges of their conduct, and therefore are concerned only with external success. But those of us who serve God can do so only with all of their energy and complete fidelity, love, and dedication, even in the smallest and the least significant of things. We pray, Lord, free us from the need for human respect, and let our lives be wholly consecrated only to your service, that we may serve you in fidelity. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I really liked that prayer when I pulled it up and saw that that was for today, because what it really reflects not only is your work as PCLs, our joint work that we do in and for the church, and those that you minister to, not only in the parish, but the catechists that are under you, and your work to be able to make them better and more effective co-workers in the vineyard. As Brian had indicated, my work with the virtual learning community for faith formations extends all the way back to when this program began. It was just a seminal idea in 1998 to leverage the idea of this thing called the internet, which was very new and people weren't sure what to do with it, but it was starting to be obvious that it was going to become something big. And the director of the Institute for Pastoral Initiatives, Sister Angela Ann Zukowski, said, let's do something with this and use it for the church. And so we came up with this idea of the virtual learning community for faith formation, a way to be able to provide ongoing adult faith formation online to people anywhere. And we started with two very important concepts when we began this project, and they both are very much in play today. One of those would be that as we built the system, that the technology would not get in the way of the learning. So if there are some of you who may have taken our courses online before, or if and when you do, and then when you speak with your catechists and people in your parishes about the opportunities, our hope is that when you take a VLCFF course, that you find the technology, as I like to put it, completely underwhelming, because the technology shouldn't get in the way of formation. The
Raise your
technology should,
hands if you've taken a VLCFF course.
there we go. We've got at least 3 hands that I see that are there, maybe 4, so, or maybe 5. So I wish I could be there for lunch, which is always a great time to answer really in-depth questions. So think of me when you're doing that. I'll be having my my turkey sandwich that I brought with me for work today, but you guys will be having yours. Go in, if you want to find out about a real good firsthand account of it, you saw the hands that were up. If you're interested and want to know more about someone's experience, go and talk to any student of the VLCFF. I am so confident that if you speak to anyone that you'll get nothing but glowing reviews, because constantly over these last 20 plus years, our students let us know that our way of approaching online learning really hits to the heart of the matter. That is trying to really do the formation, help them understand the topic better, and not get a lot of the bells and whistles or technology. Anyway, the learning curve is very shallow. It's very, very low slope, and it really gives you the chance to approach what the learning is about. In a few minutes here, I'm going to take us online. We're going to just take a brief look at one of the courses, just so you get an idea of what the methodology is actually looking like. The other thing that we wanted to make sure, and this ties right in with this idea of making sure that the technology doesn't get in the way, and keep in mind, this was back in like 1999, we wanted to make sure that we didn't violate issues of what's called the digital divide. And that is the haves and the have-nots, people who did or did not have access to the internet. So we made sure that when we built it, and there will be a few of you who might get a smile out of this, we initially designed it so that people who had what was called dial-up could access our courses without an issue. I see a couple of smiles there. Yeah, dial. Remember the strange noises that our phone would make when we'd have our computer hooked up to it? All of that stuff's all completely gone. And the speed of the technology is amazingly fast with what we could do if we chose to get really, really fancy with the technology. And we are slowly adding new elements to it, but we still want to honor that idea that there still can be people out there with lower speed connections. So we make sure that as we build our new courses and we build new methodologies into it, that we keep that in mind. The Diocese of Beaumont is a very rural diocese. There could be people out in parishes and churches and their homes that may not have access to real high-speed internet, that they might be more still on maybe a cable or a DSL modem that doesn't have 5G. A lot of things are going on our phones now, but not everywhere has the fastest phones. You know, we have the app that works with the phone. But we want to make sure that we pay honor to that we utilizing the technology, we don't leave people behind. So those are two very big pieces. And then the rest of the formation of the VLCFF as far as the methodology was concerned, which I think is relevant to a group of people such as yourselves, is we made sure that when we designed our methodology, we did it in such a way that here at the VLCFF, as far as the administrative arm is concerned, we set the standard for how our courses function. So that if a student takes, for instance, our course on Survey of Catholic Doctrine, which is the one you're going to look at in a few minutes here, and then they go on and they take the course on sacraments, there's not going to be any change in the methodology. The only thing that changes is the information. So once a person takes one of our courses, they very easily can flow from course to course without an issue. This is very important, especially I believe currently, because so many places allow the methodology to change from course to course or from topic to topic. And people are constantly catching up. I hear this a lot. My son just graduated from the University of Dayton and he went through the whole COVID thing. So there was a lot of online learning. And he said to me, I wish the university would have done their courses like you guys do at your work, because every time I did a new course, I had to learn a new way to do things because every professor did it different. Well, we decided that the control over the methodology is very important for the learner so that the learner is comfortable. When you walk into a classroom, you expect certain things. If you're in a live classroom, you expect chairs to sit down at, a desk at the front, a teacher to walk in, whiteboards for information to be put on, a projector in the ceiling that shows PowerPoint slides, all very normal things that a person walks in and expects. With the VLCFF, we like to kind of mimic that feeling that as soon as you click into and open a course, yes, this is what I expect. It looks exactly familiar. I know where I'm at, and now I can just click and get my learning started. So that was an important thing that we felt was good to do. As we developed the whole system then, it was initially just for the Archdiocese of Cincinnati to be able to provide catechetical formation, because this is a very rural diocese. We extend, however much you might know about Ohio, but Cincinnati and Dayton is kind of a megapolis. It's like there's a lot of population concentrated there. But as you move further up, halfway up the state, it gets into farm country. And we wanted to make sure that the people there were served and be able to have programs for them where they wouldn't necessarily have to drive down to a diocesan center or go for a major presentation somewhere if they're simply looking to find ways to enrich their faith. When the word that we were doing that kind of got out there, some dioceses that were around us, including the Diocese of Wheeling-Charleston, where Brian used to be, found out about this and they asked if they could partner with us. And thus began the real explosion of what has become the VLCFF. Fast forward to today, we are now in 3 different languages. We do Spanish, English, and Arabic. We will be looking into French very soon. We are coast to coast across the United States with about 70 different dioceses in the United States. We are in the Antilles Episcopal Conference. We are in Canada. We are in Australia. We are in the Arabian Peninsula and a lot of other places as well. So we have really become very much an international program simply to serve the church for formation. But in all these things, when I have a conversation with any diocesan partner or someone considering diocesan partnership, I stress the very important idea that when I'm sitting down and talking with Brian, or when I'm sitting down and talking with you as a group of PCLs, you are what is important. You are what the VLCFF is about at this moment in time right now for what I'm taking care of. Your needs, Brian's vision and the bishop's vision for the church in Beaumont. And this is how Brian and I have worked together to make sure that the VLCFF is properly crafted to be able to suit the vision and the needs for adult formation utilized online for your diocese. So in conversation with Brian, and what's really been interesting is as he's moved from place to place over the years, he's carried the word of the VLCFF with him, and every diocese that he's gone to has incorporated the VLCFF into its catechetical formation, its adult formation. And now that he's in Beaumont, that was no surprise when Brian gave me a call and said, let's start working this up here for the Diocese of Beaumont. He is a very strong advocate for how we do our program, why we do our program, and the wonderful fidelity that we have to the Catholic teaching, the Catholic Church, and how that functions for us. Our courses are very much in line with the teachings of the Church. One very big reason for that is the signatory on all of our agreements for each of our diocesan partners is the bishop of each diocese. So your bishop's signature is most likely on the contract for the Diocese of Beaumont. So he approves of this program by that conversation that Brian would have had with him and with the team there. But what does that all mean for you guys? That's really what you want to know here. You'd like a little bit more information about how can the VLCFF help you as a PCL and also help you be a better person to be able to advocate for the formation of your catechists that you work with and people in your parish. So I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share here. I'm going to do various things. The first thing I actually want to show you is something that ought to look very familiar to you. There it is, the Parish Catechetical Leader Handbook. I pretty much presume most, if not all of you, if you don't have it right there with you, you should certainly have it somewhere with all of your materials. But if you dig down near the bottom of the document, get all the way to page 15. And here we go. There's page 15. So we begin with the information on the University of Dayton and the VLCFF. I'm not going to read through everything here, but this first page gives you just some of the nuts and bolts about how to register online for a course. A nice step-by-step, we're getting a profile created and then getting registered. The next page is the more important page because this one details what the courses are that through the University of Dayton that specifically relate to your CEMI requirements. And you can see they're side by side there. And the list of courses as Brian has matched them up for what you need to do. One of the nice things that Brian has done with the way he did it for the Diocese of Beaumont is that list of courses there, those 12 courses, they directly correspond to, in our system, what we call level 1 certificate in catechesis and level 2 certificate in catechesis. That's a way that we have within our system that you can register to be in a certificate program and get a full certificate in catechesis when you complete both levels. Doing that will afford you that certificate, and it also fulfills almost all of the requirements for Beaumont, except that Brian has added the one additional course at the bottom here. I don't know, can I highlight that? Kind of sort of highlight it. You'll see this pastoral approach to culture here. That's an additional course above and beyond what you do for the level 1 and level 2. So know that the information, if you ever want to check and make sure that you've got what you need, it's there. And now I'm going to switch the page here. I'm going to stop the share, and I wanted to go and do what I had promised for you, because what you probably would be more interested in seeing a little bit about is what does it look like to be in a VFF course? And I need to go back to my page here. I got to go there. Okay, then I can go there. Somewhere. You would think with all of the work that we've done all this time during COVID, and we've all become experts at Zoom, well, maybe not as much as I'd like to think that I'm an expert at Zoom. There's the screen I'm looking for. Okay, here we go. This is the homepage, the beginning page for the Survey of Catholic Doctrine course. Okay, so if you're signed up for it, this is the first course that's listed under the University of Dayton for the certificate in catechesis. And a quick run through of what this looks like is all we really need to do here. You've got the homepage with an introduction and a list of objectives. Session 1 is here. You can see that there's dates that are listed here. So for instance, the cycle that's about to get started, which is called cycle 4. I'll show you where the calendar's at as well. It starts on May 22nd. I'll give you if anybody's really interested in jumping in one right now, like for the cycle that starts this Saturday, although registration closed yesterday, if you jump in and you take a look at something, you go, you know, I really would like to do something. I've got some time to do some learning this summer. This is the perfect time for me. If you can get an email to me by today, tomorrow, maybe even Saturday, I can probably get you into a course even though registration's closed. I'll do that for you just in case, because I know since registration closed yesterday. But just so you know, if you want to jump in, you can. If not, I'll show you where the cycles are for the next one in just a minute here, after we take a quick look at session 1 and what one would do in a given session. So you've got your list of objectives and then a list of session requirements. The first link is just a printable weekly study chart that helps you keep track of your information and how you're flowing through the week. Starts with a pre-test, list of true and false questions of multiple choice here.
No score on that one. There's no score on that one. It just.
There's no score.
What you're going to learn, and it gives the facilitator the ability to know how much you know in this course already.
Correct. So the pre-test is just help you get to know what's going on. The keys that you'll see listed are things you can click on that help you as a student do things more effectively online, such as critical reading and strategies. So you'll see keys scattered throughout the various sessions. Those are just helps. And then the first thing is it'll give you your list. Here's what your reading is for this course for the first thing. There is a book that you do need to purchase. That information is on our website. And you can find and then get that book. You do your reading. This Pennock book is a really good one. We're actually thinking of developing a second course based on his book. And then the meat of any course that we have and why we're called the Virtual Learning Community for Faith Formation is that there are 2 discussion boards built into every session. There'll be a discussion topic, as you can see there. There's some directions for how discussion boards are supposed to function, so everybody's on the same page, and then a place to add your message. The most important thing to keep aware of is that you are required to post 3 times per week on each discussion board. That's so that it ensures that you're developing an actual conversation with the various people that are in the group with you. If everyone only posted once to a discussion board, that's not much of a discussion board. So part of your completion requirement is that you do post 3 times to each board. And I can tell you that a lot of times the discussions really get going and the facilitators often have to help the students, okay, done with this topic, let's make sure we keep moving on because the topics can be, very engaging. I'm going to jump back to this page here. Then there is this first exercise, which is a couple of few essay questions that you answer based on your reading. And then a glossary quiz, because everybody needs to have a good sense of the glossary of any topic that they're working with. Another discussion board, always 2 in every course, in every week. And then finishes up with a session assessment, which is a few more essay questions. You notice that there's a length of 2 to 3 paragraphs of 4 to 6 sentences per paragraph. And then if you're in one of our certificate programs, you would take the certificate program student only question as well. Likely none of you are going to be doing it for undergraduate credit, so you would ignore that. And what we've just done there is we've looked at exactly what it takes as far as the process and procedure is concerned for doing one session. And as you go from session to session, it just moves on to the next topic, which builds on the previous one all the way through the course. Very clean, very streamlined. An average course, such as a Survey of Catholic Doctrine, most of our courses last 5 weeks. All of the ones in the certificate catechesis last for 5 weeks. We do have what we call e-seminars, which are 3 weeks long. They're shorter and more compact to cover a specific topic in a briefer period of time. I don't know why my brain just suddenly had
You were gonna show us the cycles.
the cycles. That was it. Yes. Thank you, Brian. I just had a real quick, my brain just short circuited on me there. Let's see if I can go here. I'll do it from here. I think I can, because then I can go down here. Yes. So here we go. This is the homepage for the VLCFF. And what we want to take a look at is a couple of things. Number one is the calendar. Calendar link way over here to the right. So you can see that cycle 4 runs from May 22nd to June 25th. If you click on that, you see the list of courses that we are offering for that cycle.
So in our monthly newsletter, I list those courses for the next cycle.
Ah,
And,
very good.
I started just this last one, our May edition, courses in Espanol. So I included that.
Just to kind of keep consistency here, we just looked at the Survey of Catholic Doctrine, so I'm going to click on that link there, which will bring us this little pop-up. The pop-up shows up, right?
It is not.
Okay, didn't think it would. Anyways, if you click on it, you'll get a little pop-up, which will give you a brief description of the course, and it'll also give you the link to be able to purchase the book. So FYI, that's where you would get that information. If you're interested in trying to jump into something this cycle, like I said, I can probably get you into it and make sure that it's set. So normal registration, cycle 5 being the next one, our registration will open for that on May 24th. That cycle runs from July 10th to August 13th. Normally, when you register for a course and you go through the registration process, which again is on that Parish Catechetical Leader Handbook, you would get an email that would tell you what the books are and the link to be able to get to the books. So much more effective that way. But like I said, I just want to make sure if you wanted to jump in and take one right now, you certainly could. As a matter of fact, if you're interested in jumping in and taking one right now with the cycle that's starting and not want to worry about a book, the course Images of Jesus is a great course for a couple of reasons. It's one of the 2 courses that I like encouraging people to take if they're just looking to see what the VLCFF is like. First of all, that course does not have any required book. All the readings are online, so you wouldn't have to worry about getting a book. The other thing is I think of all the courses, this is the one that I've seen most profoundly change the way that people participate at and listen to the gospel at Mass. Ever since I took this course and helped design this course, and I took it many years ago, I have not listened to the gospel the same way. And when I've told people that this is the experience that they're going to have if they take that course, they have come back and said, I wasn't sure what you meant by that, but once I did it, it really did. It changed the way I listen to the gospel. It gives them a view of what Jesus is really about when we think of him in the various images that are brought forth in the gospels, and then what each of the gospel writers is trying to say. This is a great course for closed groups, something that we can do if your parish or a couple of parishes want to get together and do what we call a closed section, which would be only people from your parish. We can arrange something like that. You can contact Brian about that, and then he would contact me. But you would be able to have an assigned facilitator and then be able to work together with people from your own parish. We even have people, when they do something like that, set up additional Zoom meetings with the facilitator to be able to have even more one-on-one personal conversations. Because our courses are what we call asynchronous, so you don't need to log on and be online at any specific time. Everything is done over the 5 weeks, and then in like week 1, you get everything done for that week, and then you move on to the next week. But there's no requirement to be logged on at a specific time. That works out really good because when you're in open registration, we get you might get people from somewhere on the other side of the world, and trying to set up a live meeting for something like that would be very difficult to do. But when it's done asynchronously and you're working with just the text in the discussion boards and what people are sending back and forth in that, you can really get a sense of what people are thinking and feeling about the topic. The other thing I wanted to point out really quick, and Brian, since I can't quite see if anybody's hand goes up, you need to let me know, but I'm going to open up for questions really soon here. There's a link here called certificate programs, because we indicated that in your handbook, it talks about you can take the VLCFF certificate in catechesis. So on our certificate programs page here, right down here, you see the certificate in catechesis.
Yeah.
That shows the information about, what our audience is, what are the requirements to do it, and then the links at the bottom of it to be able to register for level 1 and level 2. One of the two benefits I can see for allowing you, for going ahead and doing that. Number one is it's a great way to be able to keep track of what you've taken and what you still need to do to fulfill not only the requirements for the certificate through the VLCFF, but since our certificate program matches what Brian's requiring, what the diocese is requiring, you're also keeping track of that. Brian gets a report every cycle of people from the diocese who have participated in our courses. And if they're in our certificate program, that information would come to him as well. So this really helps with him. And the other great help for that would be that it really is, if you take the courses in the order they're listed, it really builds one on the other, so that for a catechist, for instance, who really is somebody who's new and they really need to develop the skills effectively and be able to really learn what it means to be a well-formed catechist, the certificate in catechesis really does that effectively for them. Mainly people who are catechists take the certificate in catechesis. But since I am speaking also to a group of PCLs who you also need enrichment, more information to be able to increase your skill sets and things like that as well, I'm going to really quick jump back to our certificate page and show some of the other ones that we have. Our certificate in adult formation leadership really helps with the kind of what you would do in a parish and how you would develop it. Take a quick look so you can see what some of the topics are. Foundations and vision of adult learning, parish as a learning community, the many faces of adult learners. You can see the different topics there. This certificate program would take the average person about 1.5 years to get through as you move through the courses.
So someone like Linda Valiant here at my table, she works mainly with adults. She is the RCI coordinator at St. Pius here in Beaumont. So this would be a great certificate.
That could be effective for her, yes. One of the ones that's catching on real quick lately, and I think it's because a lot of what we have coming out of COVID and a lot of things just with things in the world, is this certificate in faith-based peer support. Highly encourage you to take a look at that. I mean, it opens with the question, have you ever experienced trauma in your life? I mean, most of us have in some form or another. So we developed this certificate that really approaches peer support with the idea of bringing our faith life into it and what that can possibly mean. So you look at the list of courses there, and they're pretty intensive courses. They're very unique courses, sometimes because of the way that they fall. For instance, there's one on veteran and military family outreach. When there are people, because we are also partners with the Archdiocese for the Military Services, you will oftentimes get people who are working at base parishes around the world will take that course. But this one's getting more and more popular, that people like at the PCL level, or they're working specifically with a program in their parish, are interested in looking at.
That first course too on mental illness, that's a great follow-up to what we did in March, where my wife Linda, who's a counselor for Catholic Charities, did a day-long workshop on mental illness for those who serve youth. So I think that would be an excellent.
Now there's one of those points, since Brian, as you pointed out, that you did a day-long workshop on that. This may be something you might want to contact the people who were involved in that, and then at large to others as well. Might be a great idea for setting up a closed section.
Yeah.
So if you think you want to do something like that, or want to attempt to see if you can generate enough interest, we can move on that and see what we can happen with that. And the nice thing about it, when you do a closed section, is you don't have to wait till it's on the calendar. So if you wanted to offer it in cycle 5 and it's not listed, that doesn't matter. We go ahead and set it up for you anyway.
And closed sections don't have to be within a parish. It could be within a diocese as well.
Oh, certainly, yes. Yeah, we could draw it from all across the diocese as well. We do a lot of that with deacon formation. It's another very popular thing that the VLCFF is used for. And the other one that I wanted to point with you is the various that are listed here, the certificate in special needs. we are a very strong advocate and have been for many years at the Institute for Pastoral Initiatives of working to increase awareness of what it needs, what it means to be involved in special needs formation in the Catholic Church in our parishes. And especially these level 1 courses that are listed here. There isn't a parish out there that doesn't have people that lack the need for having some of these things be part of your whole parish vision. If you look into, what people are needing in your parish, anything from people with Alzheimer's to ADHD, sensory issues, and one of the courses deals very much with sensory sensitive masses. I like this one course, Creative Methodologies in ADHD in Parish Life. These courses really dive into helping a PCL, a catechist, pastoral associate, even priests really understand when it comes to being completely inclusive for people with special needs within our parishes, exactly what that looks like and how to do it. And I've seen that many people have said, I never realized just how important this was until I really began studying it, and really opened up the lives of the formation of those whom they serve with special needs. This is another one. And then the last one I want to mention is since we are a Catholic Marianist university, we very recently opened up a new certificate specifically in Marian studies. Now, this is a much more advanced set of courses, very intensive, but very fascinating. My favorite one is this last one, Mary and Spirituality, A Journey of Holiness. When I worked with the designer on that course and putting it together, it's been a long time since I spent that much time really reading everything that was in the readings that came with that course and having a conversation with the course designer. I'm a son of Mary for many years. My family's had a strong devotion to Mary. And these courses here are really fascinating if you really want to dive into what Mary is in the Catholic Church, what the doctrine says, what it is to really understand Mary's role within the Catholic Church.
And University of Dayton is a Marianist, it's a religious order university, so it's sponsored by them.
So it kind of makes sense that we would have a certificate in Marian studies.
Yeah. Back to the certificate for special needs. I noticed a few people in this room participated yesterday in a webinar by NCCL. We had Charlene Katra, who used to be from Galveston, Houston, who gave the first session. And then we had Sharon, I forget her last name, but some really, really good sessions yesterday. Angie was on there, Susan was on there, maybe a few others that was on there. That was really well done. So this could be a follow-up.
Yeah, one of the things I highly encourage when you to see what kind of things I got to hit the wrong button. I'm looking for the screen share again. Green button right there. Go back to I think this page. Yeah. On our courses drop down here, there's a course catalog right there. And that has a list of everything that we have within the VLCFF. This is broken down according to topic. This is a great thing to share with your parishioners as well, if you want to give them the whole thing at one shot, or highly encourage you to look through it yourself and see whether or not you can come up with any kind of courses that you think would be really effective for formation in your parish, whether that be just general offering or whether or not you think that you would like to set up a closed section. I did say that if you want to do a closed section, you can contact Brian and he can get the process started for you to make sure that you follow all the steps correctly and we make sure it's all taken care of. And then I'm brought into that process as well. The one here called On Bended Knee. Remember I said there were two courses that I really like to encourage people to take. One was the images of Jesus. The other one is as well called On Bended Knee. We've had this course for quite a long time. This is based on a pastoral letter that was written by the former Bishop Anthony Bosco of the Diocese of Greensburg. Bishop Bosco has since passed on a number of years ago, and he's sort of We consider him our patron saint. We've got his picture up at here at our offices. And I'll give you a little story about that. I like sharing this one. When the VLCFF was first getting started, and I indicated that dioceses around us were considering becoming partners, the Diocese of Greensburg in Pennsylvania, Bishop Bosco had known Sister Angela Ann for a number of years, and he said, you know, out of an idea of friendship, why don't you have someone come out and give us a talk about it? And so Sister sent me out there. I flew out to Greensburg to give a presentation. And the interesting thing is that this is very early. I had just finished my master's degree in theology after coming out of a career of basically working in food service. I got my position with the VLCFF, started working with these things and developing the program. And she sends me out there to talk to the Diocese of Greensburg. It was a little bit intimidating for me, you know, suddenly here I am in this meeting with a bishop, the vicar of priests, the superintendent of schools, and they all are staring at me and they want to know what this is all about. This is my first real presentation on it. So I was kind of nervous, to say the least, in that. And we went to this, it was at a high school that was next to the chancery, and we went into a classroom, the number of people there, and I've got the whole thing up on a screen ready to show, and there was a power outage. Well, not only am I shaking just because I'm standing there in front of these people that I consider to be so important, but now all of a sudden I've got to try and figure out how to do this without power. So, and I had people actually sitting at computers in the classroom, and they were going to go along and actually make a profile and all those things too. So I have to figure out how to do this, you know, off the top of my head. And I looked around, and the whole classroom on 3 sides has got blackboards on it. Actually, they were green blackboards. So I took a piece of chalk and I started drawing what looked like monitors on each board. And I said, you're first going to experience this, and then you're going to move on, and you're going to click this, and you're going to do this, and then you're going to move on, you click, and then here's what a course looks like, and here's where the sessions are, and all this stuff. And I'm talking and talking and talking. And I got all the way around the whole classroom, reached the end, and I said, you know, I wish I could show you in real time, but this is the best that I can do. So hopefully you get a sense of what this is really all about. And I really got into it. And I thought, my gosh, I really sold them. And the bishop's sitting there kind of nodding and watching me. And I said, so what do you think? Any questions that you have? And the bishop said, Richard, you have a lot of passion, but I'm not convinced. I did this as a favor for Sister who I've known for many years, but you went through so much to do this, especially with losing the power. I'll tell you what, I'll go online and I'll take a course just to give it that one last chance. But I really don't think that online is really going to work for faith formation. Well, thank you very much, Bishop. I really appreciate that. You know, give me a call when I get back to Dayton. We'll get you set up and everything will be good and we'll get you going. So he kept his promise, and 2 days later, he calls me up and says, okay, let's get this profile set up. I want to do what I promised I'd do. And I said, okay, very good. Here you go. Here's your profile. You're good to go. Here's where you're going to click when you get started. And if you wouldn't mind, Bishop, when it's over, if you feel like having a further conversation, give me a call and just let me know what you thought. I understand you're not a big fan of the technology, but maybe you can share with me insights that can give us things we can do to improve it. He says, I can do that, Richard. Thank you very much. I will talk to you later. 5 weeks or so later, the phone rings. I see Diocese of Greensburg is on the little identification. I'm like shaking a little bit, and I pick up the phone, you know, Institute for Pastoral Initiatives. This is Richard speaking. And I hear from the other end, Richard, this is Bishop Bosco. Mea culpa, magna mea culpa. And I'm like, okay, blown out of the water. Why is a bishop saying that to me? He said, I owe you a profound apology. Not only is this an amazing way to share the faith, but the Diocese of Greensburg does want to partner. And I want to know what it would take for me to be a facilitator. And I said, wow, Bishop, that's really quite amazing. Let me pick my jaw off the ground. And he started laughing. And I said, we can do that. Let's get you going and let's get you to be a facilitator. And that led to what I consider to be one of the little hidden gems and secrets of the VLCFF that a lot of people don't know about, unless I tell them. There used to be this famous image of Pope John Paul II clicking on a mouse to take the church online and share the faith online and be that thing that really He was the first bishop, as the Bishop of Rome, to begin sharing the faith online. And I always like to say, that was really great that the Pope did that. But as a matter of fact, about 2 months prior to that picture being taken, Bishop Bosco facilitated his first course, which was the images of Jesus. He loved that course so much, he facilitated it probably 4 or 5 times a year. And actually, he had just finished facilitating his last time with it on the images of Jesus about a couple of weeks before he passed away in his sleep. All of his students loved him, but I love saying that the VLCFF was the first online learning system that actually had a bishop fulfill his teaching mandate online, and it was Bishop Bosco. But the fact that this person who did not think that online was a way to form people so completely shifted his position on it that he became the first bishop in cyberspace to do that, I think is absolutely wonderful. And it's quite a testament. And I can say 23 years now ongoing of the VLCFF serving the church in the manner that we do. And I want to go back to one last point. I said that when it comes to the partnership, when I work with an individual diocese, that diocese is first and foremost in my thought and in my work, and make sure that we meet the needs and the vision of the church in Beaumont, which is what we're doing sitting here right now. I'm also sitting here to offer you to meet the needs of you individually as PCLs. Brian has my contact information. If any of you have any questions beyond what we do today, things may pop up. You may have what ifs in your mind. Well, Richard, I really liked what you had to say, but could we do X, Y, Z? Give me a call. Let's talk. You might have a catechist or a person interested in information that as a one-on-one needs to be able to do some counseling for their learning path. That's one of my favorite things to do in all the work that I do. I get a lot of administrative stuff that I have to take care of, but when I get a call from a student saying, Richard, I'm ready to jump in, but I just don't know what I want to do and what I need to take. And I begin a conversation that sometimes can last a couple of hours with that student. Because that's at that point, that student is the VLCFF to me. And that's the way we approach it here. And that's what I offer each of you is that one-on-one attentiveness to it. I think that is one of the unique things that the VLCFF brings is that we do work with people on an individual basis to try and help them develop what's the best for either as a partner level for the church in the Beaumont or at the individual level for your individual parishes, or right down to your office, your parish staff, individual catechists, individual learners. That's what we're here for. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about this and share. But I think I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit because I can really get going. You're lucky that when Brian first said he wanted me to speak with you, my inkling was going to say, sure, Brian, when am I going to get my plane ticket? Because I love being with people in person. COVID has really sharpened the ability to be able to do this via Zoom. I really appreciate being with you. I've been watching you. It looks like I've pretty much got your attention. I haven't seen anybody nod off. I'm glad this was before lunch and not after. We all know how that can be at a conference. But do you have any questions, comments? I would certainly like to hear from one of the 4 or 5 people who have taken a course, maybe a little brief testimonial. But if any of you have any questions about, either for myself or for Brian, that we can help answer right now, we're certainly open for that at the moment.
And part of the reason we're paying attention to you, you have a halo behind you. So
Yeah, and I turned the light,
holy people.
but I like this.
Yeah,
A wonderful holy family there. And that's the Bible open to the Sunday scripture, by the way.
very good. So anyone who's taken VLCFF courses, would you like to kind of give a testimony and share about that experience? Some of you have taken courses. Go ahead. Debbie? Oh, you have?
No, I haven't yet.
Susan?
Yeah, I have. It's very easy to take the course.
Can you hear her?
I can, yes.
It was very easy. I was very apprehensive to take the course to begin with because it's been so long since I've been in school. I thought I can't do this. And Brian was very encouraging and saying, yes, you can. I did one of his closed courses that we did on catechetical planning. It's a great course if you wanted to get some information on it. It was very easy. And you have to commit the time, to do your discussion boards. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to do, to sit down and say, okay, I need to do this now. But you learn a lot from other people that are in the course with you that can help you journey through it. There was people that were in there that were older than I was, so it helped me understand where they were coming from and how they thought of what we were discussing. So it was very easy. It's just making and committing the time to do it.
And, you're deepening the relationships with the people that are there. It's truly a virtual community. You're getting to know them. So, others. I know, Fabi, you've taken some courses in Espanol.
Yeah, I love the courses in Spanish. Make my heart with God. Love for God. Yeah, I love the courses in Spanish. Thank you.
And did you complete a certificate?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
For first level.
First level certificate in Spanish.
I really appreciate her sharing on the Spanish courses there. One of the points I want to make about that, first of all, Brian, she might be great to do an interview with, to put something in whatever parish or diocesan newspaper you have, to be able to encourage people who want to take the courses in Spanish. But I want to point out you said it really reached your heart, and that really, when you said that kind of made my day right there, because one of the things that we did when we first started moving into courses in Spanish, a lot of people told us not to bother, that it wouldn't be worth our effort. And we're like, well, thank you very much, but we're going to do this anyway. But we took a different approach that others were taking at the time. Most courses in Spanish were simply a translation from the English into Spanish. Our courses, instead of doing that, they are enculturated. The design and the format of the courses is meant to speak to that culture. As a matter of fact, that last course on that list on page 16 in your PCL handbook that you need to take, that's part of the VLCFF, a pastoral approach to culture. That's a clear indication that that whole idea of making sure that the faith is presented, or this kind of formation, within its cultural context. It should evoke emotion. It's our faith. And the fact that you did say that shows me that we succeeded in bringing that to those set of courses, which I'm sure is certainly what it is through all of it, because we're starting to hear more and more now that our Arabic courses are doing the same thing. I don't know if there's much of an Arabic Catholic population in Beaumont, but there is. If there is, certainly make them aware of it. But your sharing that about the courses in Spanish was, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yes.
I took a course also, but I also teach at our university here, Lamar University here in Beaumont. And your comment about how professors all do their courses, they lay out their courses differently, is true. I do face-to-face courses, and so when I did the online course, I hadn't done that ever, so it was kind of different. But like you said, it was very easy to follow. But just now, when you went through that little tour and all the different places to go, I appreciate that, because I didn't get a chance to do that when I did the course. But being able to see, the certificate programs and where the calendar is and the course catalog, that was very interesting, and able, it showed how the ease of the program.
Thank you. I'm going to show one other thing on the homepage that is good to share with others. I'm going to go back to the beginning here. So this is our homepage, but if you scroll on down the homepage, by the way, that picture there is the lobby here at where the Institute is at. We just had a statue dedicated to Mary. That's a statue called Mary Immaculata, which had been in a parish dating back to the early 1900s here in the Dayton area. The parish had been torn down many years ago, but a very wise person claimed that statue and had it stored in a garage for like 20 some years. And when the university took over this building we're in now, the process was begun to have this statue installed here at the University of Dayton. It's a solid marble statue, and I like the little story behind it. The provenance of the marble is that it's extremely likely, like a 95% likelihood that the marble was drawn from the same marble quarry that Michelangelo's David was quarried from. So kind of those neat little points of history. That's kind of, so anyway, scrolling on down, if you get down right to explore our program, this getting started video is an encapsulation of what I tried to share when I walked you through the course. Gives you some insights to creating a profile, and then, you know, what it means to take a VLCFF course. If a student ever emails me and says, I don't know what to do, what do I do next? The first thing I do is say, watch this video. And if you have questions after the video, let me know. 99% of the time, I never get any other questions back because that video pretty much answers anything. So just a point there that you can share that getting started video with others.
And you notice the video beside it said Espanol, English, and Arabic. So, cost. So can you let them know that there is a reduction in cost compared to a partner diocese and a non-partner diocese?
Very good. Yeah, as I indicated, that the Diocese of Beaumont, and along with a number of other dioceses, partner with us. There is a fee that the diocese pays to be part of the VLCFF. That fee structure for the diocese has not changed in 23 years. That's something I think we're very proud of. We've been able to maintain the same partner fee all those years. And what that does is, one of the things of the various things that partnership does, a person who's in a partnering diocese, the course cost is reduced from $105 per course down to $50. $50 per course. And a 3-week e-seminar is $40 per course. So you've got more than a 50% reduction in the cost for being part of the diocesan partnership. I also believe, Brian, is it still true that there is some scholarship depending on need that the Beaumont people can utilize as well?
Yeah, there's different possibilities. I know with the Good Works grant, you know, that helps with your program and your salary and benefits. And one of the benefits is your ongoing education, so it could be applied for that as well.
And then, like, the partnership also allows for doing closed courses, doing individual consultations, any number of things. One of the things we like to do, so for any of you who happen to have an MA in theology or know someone with an MA in theology or a related field, we're always looking for new facilitators. We like drawing our facilitators from our partnership. We have a training process that they go through, and once they're trained to be a facilitator for our online courses, they're put into the rotation for the coming year, and there is a stipend that they're paid to teach the courses. Brian has been a facilitator with us 20 plus years, I think, and still does on a regular basis. 2 or 3 times a year, he does facilitate our courses. He has done so exceptionally well and is one of our better facilitators. So if you are interested in the role of becoming a facilitator or might know someone, Brian would be the person to talk to.
Other questions, maybe some ideas that can help your catechists, your parents, your people. Do you have some ideas for maybe new courses, or we can turn to conversation about that? What would help your folks?
I think definitely, I'm excited that you can do a facilitator at close.
Can you hear her okay?
No, I could not hear that.
We were just discussing, because we'll have two deacons with us starting this summer, and they were talking, you know, one was talking at a staff meeting about what can they facilitate, what more could they do, but this is really neat. I can't wait to share this.
Yeah.
That they can do something like this. Because part of it was they want to evangelize families, but also it's almost like the more you reveal, the more you learn. That's really what wins you over. It's hard not to. And I think a lot of it too is how to the modern day, and I like what it said, when pain is keeping enjoy. I think we're having a big thing right now about the modern day new threats, the cyberbullying, the addiction to, different things that are developing with the youth and even adults, because it is present. So I don't know if there's anything that can kind of help us from that.
Well, probably some of the courses that he mentioned that those new courses are in line with that idea. So I'm very excited about
I
that.
am excited about that.
Any thoughts about having courses in Vietnamese? We do have a catechetical leader here from Queen of Vietnam.
That's a good question. So I was just trying to formulate my answer here. So one of the things that I think that was I have to ask a qualifying question. So does the Vietnamese language utilize the same alphabet as the English alphabet, or is it a unique alphabet?
It can be the same, right?
So they can use and communicate. So one thing that we have done in closed sections for people is, let's take that Images of Jesus course. So typically for something like this, they're going to be bilingual, but they're going to be more comfortable communicating or answering in their more native tongue. So if you had a closed section with all people who are bilingual Vietnamese, with a person who can help facilitate the course, who either coordinates with one of our facilitators or who we could set up to be a facilitator within the VLCFF, you could take the course within the English format in a closed section, but then do all of your discussions and exercises in the native tongue. And that allows for a greater freedom to be able to communicate more from the heart, because it would be the natural language. So that is something we have done before.
Yeah, I remember my wife and I did a retreat in a federal prison for women in Alderson, West Virginia. That's when we were in Wheeling, Charleston. And all of those women, their first language was Spanish. And we presented in English, but the group discussions were in Spanish. They asked if they could do that. And they said, absolutely, because that's where their heart is. That's where their experience is. So by all means, that could be a possibility.
That's a very good question, though.
Other ideas, anything you want to bring to Richard?
Do you think this would be something that would be advantageous for your catechists to get them through their certification and their training?
So this is a question for you all. A lot of them are saying yes, yeah.
I see heads nodding, yeah. Of course, passing those information along to them is one of the ways to make sure that they get moving and can begin to create profiles and enter into the process. Communication from Brian obviously comes out for showing what's going on in the VLCFF cycles, from cycle to cycle. I'd really, encourage you, if the possibility exists, if you've got, your catechists, depending on how many you want to put through it. And this is where this idea of, doing a closed section, maybe across a couple or three different parishes, that you really want to start here at the Archdiocese of Cincinnati. We're doing a lot of what are called a family of parishes, so that you've got 2 or 3 priests that are administering and doing sacraments for like 5 different parishes in the family of parishes that I belong to. It works out nice to be able to do, when these are starting to form, closed sections that people from these 5 different parishes come together, and they're doing these courses online, because I'm at St. Christopher's in Vandalia, but somebody in St. John's up in Tip City, I may never get a chance to actually go and meet that parishioner. But now that we're really this family of parishes, online courses like this that are going across these parish borders to bring people together is starting to encourage this relationship and this communication. And hopefully doing things like that will also begin to have, if there's an event at another parish that someone say, well, I'd like to go and see that talk there, rather than necessarily be at what I consider my home parish. And I'm not really talking about breaking down the parish boundaries, but I'm talking about being able to reach across them and be able to share and realize the larger aspect of what it means to be church. So that might be another way to consider for your catechists to share across parish boundaries and formulate closed sections. So if you're thinking as a PCL at a given parish, start thinking, you're all sitting there as a group right now. What if you formed little clusters and said, well, how many of our catechists might we be able to get together who could enter into this process and really start formation? And one of the other things that I can offer to you as PCLs, let's say you do get something like this going, you get a closed section going, and you want to keep an eye on how things are going in the course that they're taking. So once you set up a closed section, and if you have a profile, I can actually insert you into the course. It's what we call a course animator, which means you'd be able to go in and see everything that they're doing on the discussion boards, have a full look at what the material they're covering in, and then actually enter into the discussion boards and have conversations with them at no cost, because you would be doing that as part of an enrichment and bringing what I would call the local flavor for that given closed section. So you don't necessarily have to look at it like, okay, so if we do a closed section, the VLCF is going to take them and just do all the training over here. No, you can enter into it as well. This is something that you can and are effectively can be participating in addition to that.
We could also do closed parishes that are like to like. Say St. Joseph, Crystal Ray, St. Mary in Cleveland, a lot of Hispanics, right? And so you can do a closed course with those particular catechists, so that could be another possibility. Or even Queen of Vietnam, St. Joseph here in Beaumont, you can do something together as a closed course. So. Anything else, Richard?
My experience has been for 23 years that when students come to me, well, we had a couple of testimonials there. That idea of that testimonial is very heartfelt and very, very true. And it's the best way to really understand what the VLCF is about, is to see the impact that it has on persons at an individual level. I get so many good and amazing emails back from people who, well, this isn't what I expected. I thought it would be, point and click, and I would just submit stuff. But when I actually got a chance to share more deeply with my fellow students, and that my facilitator was very caring, clearly about my formation, that's really the core of what the VLCFF is about. It is an online learning methodology that really allows people to make connections. The fact that after 20 some years that we're still maintaining this fidelity to, that the technology is put at the service of the learner, that the formation comes first. You as PCLs, one of the most profound ministries that you have is to ensure that those who work with the formation of the people in your parish are like, they're like a pitcher. And a pitcher of water can only fill the glasses it's required to fill if that pitcher is filled with good, clear, clean water. And I like thinking of the formation that the VLCFF offers as that water, that water in the spirit, the building up of who that person is inside as a catechist, to be able to be really effective and really on task with the people that they're working with. I hear from facilitators of students that say, I'm going to take this to my students. I'm going to, can I download this article and share it? It fascinates me how people think that, well, it's online, I can't download it without permission. Well, no, you can. If it's an article that we're sharing, it's part of your learning, they download it, they take what they've learned from the VLCFF and they take it to their parish and to those that they're affecting as well. It's the dropping of the pebble in the water and the ripples that spread. The VLCFF has really shown itself in its fidelity to the mission that we have, to the building up of the church. Has been one that has been a profound gift for myself, and watching the way that people are impacted, and thousands of people per year are taking our courses to be able to do exactly what you're doing there in the Diocese of Beaumont, to build up the kingdom of God. One other thing I want to say that might be another encouragement as well. We talked about taking classes at large. We talked about closed courses. We talked about also doing with Zoom as well. We do have people that also work with what we call a hybrid approach. So let's say you want to do a closed section, but you've got a group of people who, well, I really don't know if my people are going to like this idea of doing it with, strictly with the technology. Well, that's a great opportunity to slowly introduce them to the technology. We would work with a hybrid where they would have a meeting at the parish, once a week maybe, or maybe on week 1, week 3, and week 5, where they come together. And then they go online and they work on the discussion boards and things like that. And then they come back and they meet in person and they have the Zoom session coming in with the facilitator. That would be a hybrid approach. Brian, the Diocese of Wheeling Charleston, is having great success with that. They have a number of local facilitators who take the VLCFF curriculum and they do the courses, they meet like 3 times across the 5 weeks. And the only online portion that they do is the discussion boards. The rest is done and monitored by the facilitator with what happens when they do their in-person meetings. So there's a lot of approaches that we can take to how we do what the effective goal, and that is the person's well-formed in faith.
And it's easy to do, say you do a closed course with your catechist in your parish, and you do meet like that. It's good also to meet after the course is done, kind of a mystagogical sharing of that experience, so that they can deepen that experience and live it out within their ministry. So, most of the people in our diocese that have taken courses are either people that are interested, men who are interested in the diaconate. We had the charismatic renewal, a lot of Hispanics that are involved with the charismatic renewal and taking courses. So a lot of Spanish courses that they have taken. And what we would like to increase is the opportunities for you to take courses as well as your catechists. And I would even add your parents, because many of your parents are really involved in catechetical formation of your children as well. So let's see what happens with it. Let's be like Bishop Bosco and give it a try. Yeah.
I wanted to,
This is
sitting here
private.
listening to y'all, I'm kind of feeling a little sense that you're overwhelmed with it maybe. If you think about when we started our book study, how many years ago, 4 or 5, we had 2 people and we went 2 years with just 2, maybe 3 of us talking. Now we're up to 7. So if you, that's big for me. But if you think small, just get a small, how large does a closed group have to be?
How large does a closed group have to be?
Minimum of 10, maximum of 15.
Okay, so each of you could get 2 or 3 in your parish, do a cluster group and start it that way. And let it go. The people who take the course will spread the news for you. And the facilitators are doing the work for you and you're getting your catechist trained. But if you think small and then let it blossom, you'll be able to accomplish much more than what you realize. So have a little faith, plant a mustard seed.
Yeah. So neighboring parish or like parish.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking, we have in September, ministry fair.
Yeah.
That's going on. I'd like to have some stuff there about this, because there are different ministries, and at times when they get together, whether it's the Knights of Columbus or the different groups that help, they might.
Are you still doing the brochures?
No, we do have a PDF that we could send you.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great to have.
Yeah, because I do have a remnant of some of the little brochures and the big brochures back here on the table.
Yeah.
To grab.
Yeah, we decided to become more ecologically responsible.
There you go.
I'm gonna try and offer something here, but part of it, and I'm gonna unfortunately be putting Brian on the spot. So Brian, hopefully you don't mind me putting you on the spot, but something did occur to me. We got a great group sitting right there in that room. a lot of people profound in their mission and their choice to be in the role that you're in right now. I don't know what the total number is, but it looks like maybe around total of like 10, 15 people that are in that room there right now. Now, Brian, this is entirely up to you, so you can make the decision on this. I think it would be really neat if all of you decided as to be a closed group and to just experience the VLCFF, okay? So you could pick any course you want with a book, without a book, it's up to you. I might actually recommend, we're starting a collaboration with a Little Rock Scripture Study. And the first two books of theirs that we picked up are Angels in the Bible and Panorama of the Old Testament. There is one of their small books that you purchase for it. If you've ever done Little Rock, you know how great their books are. So we have one called Angels in the Bible, which is only 3 weeks long. Here's what I'm going to go ahead and offer you, and Brian will have to approve of this offering, as it were. Come together as a cohort, take the course, whatever it happens to be, to experience it. Here we go, Brian. With Brian as your facilitator, you will not be charged anything to take the course, and Brian will offer his stipend back as a contribution to the greater good. So you can get a stipend, Brian. That's where you'd have to agree to this.
So what cycle are we thinking? Because I'm taking 2 weeks.
Whatever cycle you want. If you want to do it 4, 5, 6, 7, just keep this in your mind. And
Yeah.
because I think those of you who have taken a VLCFF course are probably going, Brian, do it, Brian, do it, Brian, do it.
So are you open to doing something? Because I would love to facilitate that.
Yeah.
So,
Bring you all together, experience it together.
yeah,
Yeah.
when would be a good time for you? I know right
So
now.
if that's a good thing, then you guys can have that conversation and decide when you want to do this. Let me know. I'll all I gotta do is set it up in the system. You'll all be done. You'll all be able to take it at no charge. Brian will do it for no stipend. So it's a balance for us. I'm contributing my time of setting it up, which is fine by me, but I really think, this group, I just suddenly felt called to saying, you guys can jump in and do this together. I think you'd really like it. And it was the person who said baby steps at a time, the back in the corner there, that made that last comment that really got me thinking that way. So think about it.
Okay.
Let me know if anything comes of this and we can set it up.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Throw you under the bus.
No, not at all. Happy to do that. Okay. Any other further questions for him? Otherwise, we can take a little break. Okay. Any closing thoughts? Any, maybe a closing prayer?
See if I can find something real quick here.
And then after we're done with the course, we could take a field trip up to Dayton, go to his house, he'll barbecue for us.
Oh, when you said date.
No, we'll bring.
Do you have a pool?
You can meet our Great Dane.
Yeah, they have a great day.
Okay, so I've got another prayer here from my minute reflections thing. So, Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. From the Gospel of Matthew. Treat others the way you want them to treat you. Refraining from evil is not enough. God commands us to do good. Is this the rule of my life? Loving Savior, pour your love into my heart. Make me ready and willing to give myself to others as you have given yourself for me. In the name of the Father and the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you,
Yeah,
Brian, for
Richard,
the
thank
invitation. Brian, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, so just signing.
Someone asked for your email, which I could share it with them.
Yeah, Brian's got that information.
I have that information.
And I look forward to hearing from you about that offering on that closed section. I think you guys would really like it.
Okay, sounds great.
right.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch and
Hello to Sister Angela Ann and your team.
I sure will.
Okay, God bless.